There is no easy games in the Premier League, but it's definitely no easy games when I see these ones, Ian.
There's not. I mean, this was a big disappointment from Spurs, though. I mean, if we focus on this game first and foremost before we go anywhere else, you do have to question the decision right there from Mathys Tel to make that type of a challenge. And the overhead kick when the ball has been punted 50 yards up into the air. You're trying a bicycle kick inside your penalty area with, like, survival on the line. I mean, the gap that you could potentially create, what would have been 4 points, right, away from West Ham if you'd have won that game? That type of decision is just absolutely crazy. I don't understand it. I never will understand it. It is debatable as to whether or not it's a penalty kick or not, and of course it's debatable as to whether or not video review should continue to intervene. But I think when you see the player making that type of a decision to do an overhead kick inside the penalty area, it just makes no sense. Ampadu does a great job, by the way, and so does Calvert-Lewin with the finish, 13th goal of the season for him. But Ampadu's brave. He throws his head in there, knows exactly what he's doing. But I just can't understand what Mathys Tel's doing there. Great goal he scored. Would have been the match winner. And now he's a villain.
I'm going to make it very clear that decision cannot be described as anything apart from ludicrous. It's ludicrous and it's selfish. And I don't really like calling out players because I'm a very player-friendly journalist, right? I like understanding player responsibility, player strength, especially in this market today. But that decision right there could really cost you somewhere between 100 and 200 million pounds. Like, and you could, it seems a bit hyperbole to turn around and focus in on a single decision, but that is what you're talking about now. We're getting to the end of the season, 2 games to go, and you create an incredible moment for yourself, an incredible finish in that top corner, and then do something that is going to be so detrimental to your team overall. And I really do think about the conversation that's going to occur now, Ian, in this changing room, because there starts to become an element of, can I trust you in those situations? Are you thinking about yourself? Because who's going to survive out of these 2 teams is the one that decides to buy in terms of the philosophy and the situation they're in right now. And that was an identification of a player who isn't bought in and wanted a highlight moment in an unnecessary moment.
Well, he hasn't performed well since that move's been made permanent. Obviously, that happens to a lot of players, but Spurs players haven't played well this season, full stop. It is such a talented 11 that went out there in this game. It's such a talented 11. Very good goalkeeper, albeit a little bit shaky in the Champions League this season. Definitely the back 4, very experienced, a lot of pace. Danger also going forward. Porro and Udogie are very good players in my opinion. Obviously dangerous on set pieces as well. Solid in midfield with Bentancur and Paulinho. I think both of them are excellent midfielders. Kolo Muani, underperformer right now, and certainly underperformed since he's been at Spurs as far as I'm concerned, full stop. Gallagher doesn't look like the same player at this moment in time. He's lost his tan as well from Madrid. Shocking hairband as well, by the way. Mathys Tel's not a great player. Yeah, shocking. You can see it, look at it there. Awful. Mathys Tel's not a great player as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't understand the move from Bayern Munich. You know, I didn't understand why Tottenham were going to try and sign him. He wasn't great at Bayern. He just wasn't. I know he scored goals and he went on that run. Can't remember if most people out there even watched the Bundesliga. If you would remember, he scored in like 5 or 6 competitive games and his name went through the roof and everyone started talking about him. And then he cooled off a little bit and then Spurs came in for him. He took him on loan, I think, initially before making that move permanent. But he's inconsistent. But also, when you see moments like this, it's inconsistency that creeps into play, right? There's a nervousness out there, and sometimes you can make the wrong decision, and that's one of an inexperienced player. And he's played in the Champions League. So he's played at the highest level.
Can't do it, Ian.
And mistakes like that are inexcusable. Now, I can debate you as much as I want. You think it's a penalty kick. I think it's a soft penalty kick, and I think video review intervenes sometimes way too much here, because, for my opinion, Ampadu puts his head down. Clearly, you can see there's contact close to the face. Does it make contact? Probably not. But when you slow it down, it looks worse. Like, it looks terrible. So I can understand why it's a penalty kick.
I tell you now, but the problem I have is you're still allowing the referee to make a decision.
How much time does he think he's got?
How much time do you think you have in your own box, first of all, and then trying to defend that situation of it's an unnecessary act, because it's not like he's gone up for a header and decided to elbow him or trying to clear something and didn't see him on the blind side. That right there has nothing short of just showboating. Let's just be honest about it.
Well,
it's just no, Ian, it's showboating, and you know me. I very rarely speak out. I very rarely speak out against players. But when you're talking about players' livelihoods, you're talking about the status in the league. If you were contesting for a top 4 or competing for a European position where Spurs should be, there's no conversation. It's a simple mistake. It's a really bad decision. But you're talking about the whole club could change. You're talking about 100 million plus is on the line, and it isn't just representing yourself. Right? It's not just representing yourself, though. And you know who I do fear for? I fear for the stewards. I fear for the tea people. I fear for the canteen people. I fear for the people around the club. club. Because if you don't think as a club they're going to have to restructure if they enter the Championship,
no, I agree.
It's a really selfish decision for an unnecessary moment.
But that's not the only reason why they would get relegated, though, right? Let's not forget about this is a 21-year-old who made a bad mistake, and it happens. They've had a lot of mistakes. If you look at the big picture from Tottenham, they have conceded so many goals at home, and their home form is terrible. They're the second worst team in the Premier League when it comes to the home form. They've won 2 games at home all season long. That's an absolute nightmare. They have conceded more goals at home than they have conceded away from home. That's a nightmare as well. And I think they've lost 10 games and that's their 6th draw. It's just not good enough. To your point, though, and you talk about the actual structure of the football club, they're still in with a chance of safety. They still have it in their hands, in their possession. But now you've got to go face Chelsea now, where you haven't beaten them, if I'm not mistaken, since 2023 is a big problem. And then you've got to hope that results elsewhere don't go against you as well. So, yes, it's still in your hand, but some way it's still outside of your hand, because at any given time, West Ham can step up and put a performance out. But this is not done yet. Even with 2 games left to go, I still feel like there's another surprise coming our way somewhere.
There's definitely another swing, and I want to talk about some of the positives that's happening with Spurs, because it is 4 games they haven't lost. They're undefeated in 4 games, which is a very good basis.
Back in their hands now.
What are you seeing? It is back in their hands, and also James Maddison coming off the bench today.
Yeah, great to have him back, but that's the biggest problem, right? They've had so many injuries, Tottenham, and people forget about this. Tottenham have been injury after injury after injury. A lot of the managerial replacements have happened because of those injuries and not being able to play the same way. I mean, this goes all the way back to Ange Postecoglou, g'day, mate, you know what I mean? I just think that you've got to be patient with those injuries, but you can't when you're not winning games. Now, to your point of view, it's about 650 million of revenue that comes in through that door of that football club, right? I think over 200 million of it is salaries, but you've got over 2,000 employees at the football club. If Tottenham was to get relegated, half of them, probably more than half, would lose their job.
And that's the bit that annoys me. I'm from North London, so I know the people that are working inside of that club and not stepping on the pitch. I'm talking in and around that make the day-to-day move smoothly. And that's the bit where the passion's coming from, because if you want to mess up everything in terms of the direction of the club and whatever else, that's fine, but you're a multi-millionaire. And that is the truth of it. You're going to find another club because you have the 1% talent that made it as a professional footballer. But what you need to consider when you're in a relegation battle, when he might not have been in this situation before, is that you're affecting everybody around that club. Over 100 employees that Ian just alluded to are now potentially on the verge of up and down. And I hear the anxiety in my friends, in my family, in people close to the club, that they're saying these players are letting us down because they have been paid a lot of money to produce on the pitch and not find themselves in this situation. And this is where I start to have a little bit of an irk, because I can understand bad performances. I can understand not connecting with a manager. I can't understand when you're making irresponsible decisions in the box in a time of the season that's not necessary. And that's, for me, where my irk and my level of anxiety goes into another place.
I love the passion, and obviously you have a commitment and a personal connection to it as well. I didn't know you were a Tottenham fan.
You know,
Tottenham away to Chelsea next, and then they're at home to Everton. I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot, because I know your passion's risen to another level here. Tottenham stay up?
I think after today they do not stay up. And that's only because I do believe that their fixtures are harder in terms of than West Ham's. But I will say something. They are the better team. They're a better fluid footballing team. They've got better quality in the final third. But this last 2 games are 2 cup finals. And we all have watched football long enough to understand that cup finals don't really come down to who's the better players on the pitch. They come down to who wants it more. And when I see decisions like that was made on the pitch today, in terms of by certain individuals in Spurs, they're not giving me enough energy that they understand the magnitude of this situation. And that, for me, is where I feel like they will fall down. There have been better teams that have been relegated to the Championship, and they need to recognise that and put their arrogance aside for half a second and say, we have 2 games to save everybody's job around here. The responsibility is on the players right now.
Do you know what I think will happen? Between now and the end of the season, you're watching 2 out-of-form teams. Now, I know Spurs are 4 games unbeaten. I understand that. But they're not playing well. West Ham are also not playing well right now. West Ham have got to go to Newcastle next, and then they've got Leeds at home. There's a very big possibility that they don't win a game. There's a very big possibility that Leeds put out another performance like that and get a result. So Tottenham could be saved by the fact that West Ham's form has dropped at the wrong time. And how lucky would Spurs be that they managed to survive? They might not even win another game between now and the end of the season, right? They got Everton in the last game of the season. Massive game for them. Everton could be facing a possibility of going into European football.
And Chelsea, you know they're going to turn up regardless. It could be any point.
I just think West Ham at Newcastle, though, Jaydee. I just think West Ham.
And I agree with
Newcastle.
you. And I agree with you in regards to the Newcastle element. I agree with you. But my concern is, and I haven't seen this with Leeds, and I want to give Leeds credit because I feel like they have secured and definitely produced that they deserve to be in this league, especially going into next year. But I wonder on the final day of the season, how many of them is starting to think about Mykonos, Cabo, Mexico?
They're already safe though.
Because you're exactly what you just said. Because they're already safe.
Yeah, but they were safe before this game.
And they were. And there's no two ways about it. But there's a little extra incentive when you're playing at Spurs. And I saw a little bit extra individual performances, especially DCL, who still wants to prove that he can go to the World Cup and whatever else. By the time we get to the final day of the season, all your body of work is done. And I've seen players check out on game week 38 in saying, I'll be honest with you, like I'm already, I'm not going to the World Cup. I already have been given the call, and I'm going to be in Mykonos in the next week and doing whatever the hell I like. So at this point, what am I going and killing myself, doing all the extra injuries, all the extras for?
At this point,
and that's the point
I'm
worried
thankful
about.
that you were one of my teammates. If you were thinking about Mykonos in that final game of the season, I guarantee you none of them will be thinking about that.
I like that energy.
It's a guarantee. Leeds and under Farke have done a very good job. And I think Leeds are very professional. That was a professional performance right there. I still think Spurs should have won the game. They just weren't good enough, right? They didn't take their chances. And Leeds had a couple of good chances towards the end of the game to win it themselves. Even unbelievable save by Kinski at the end of the game. Wow, what a remarkable stop that was when Leeds probably should have scored the winning goal. But I just think you're going to see the opponents play better than Spurs and West Ham. Unfortunately, Newcastle not in great form right now. But Newcastle's probably looking at this fixture and going, oh yeah, West Ham, last home game of the season, look forward to 3 points there. Now we understand West Ham are in a dogfight and this is probably giving them some joy. But going to Newcastle, away from home in the Premier League, it's their last game at home in front of their own supporters, tough ask.